So to line a baking tin, all we need is a kitchen towel with some cooking oil on it. You can also use the paper from some butter. Anything that's a little bit greasy works really well. We take our baking tin, rub our towel around the tin like so, just making sure we get some oil on all sides of the tin. We're then going to take some baking paper that is cut to slightly bigger than the pan itself. Okay, slightly wider, and it should be slightly longer also. And we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut 1/3 of the way into our paper and maybe 3 to 4 inches into the paper itself. And another third like so. Flip your paper around. Do the same on the other side. And then always have your paper facing the wrong way, so to speak. So if it's rolled like so, we don't open it up and put it into our tin like so, because it will just tend to curl up and reform. You flip it over and it goes in somewhat backwards like so. And now what we don't need to worry about is our paper overlapping, because when we put our cake batter in, as you will see, our paper will sink into the tin, and then we can cut off any excess paper from around the edges. So before I begin mixing everything together for the creaming method, first thing I'm going to do is sift together my dry ingredients. So my flour and my baking powder are going to go into the sifter. The reason I'm sifting them together is twofold. One, I want to take out the lumps in my flour that have probably naturally formed while the flour is in the bag. The second thing I want to do is kind of evenly disperse my baking powder in amongst my flour so I don't get any clumps of baking powder in my finished cake product. So step one of my creaming method is creaming together my butter and my sugar. Okay, first thing, butter goes into my bowl. Don't worry about your butter being cut into chunks. Your real thing here is you just want to smooth out your butter a little bit using your paddle. Okay, your butter should be soft and room temperature, so it's going to naturally break up pretty quickly anyway. Okay, once we have our butter broken up slightly, we can then stop our mixer, add our sugar. I have a mixture of brown sugar and granulated sugar. The reason I'm using brown sugar is that I find that in a marble chocolate cake, the brown sugar gives me a really nice rich flavor that goes really well and pairs well with the cocoa powder. What I'm going to do then, turn my mixer back on, get all of my sugar incorporated with my butter. Once there's no clumps of sugar visible in my butter, I can then turn up the speed. And now the aim is to make my mixture really light, fluffy, and aerated. This is going to take anywhere, depending on the temperature of your butter, the size of your recipe, and which sugars you're using. This can take anywhere between kind of 5 and 8 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to turn up my mixer to slightly above medium speed, one of my higher speeds, and we're just going to leave this get nice and fluffy. If I look at my mixer at any point and I see that some of my butter and my sugar might be up the side of the bowl or stuck to my paddle, depending on what you're using, all you need to do is take out the paddle from your bowl and use your paddle to scrape down the side of your bowl so that you're getting all of your mixture creamed to the same level. We can then turn our mixer back on and just restart the process. As your mixture gets lighter and fluffier, we can turn up the speed in the mixer also. So what I'm going to do again, scrape down my bowl. Again, looking for even creaming through all of my cake. Oops. And if that happens again, just use your paddle, scrape off the butter and sugar from the side of your bowl, lock your bowl again, and then again we go for a higher speed. So we can see as our mixture gets more and more creamy and more aerated, there's going to be a massive color difference between our mixture that's around the side of our bowl and the mixture that is getting nicely smoothly creamed together. You can see here, this is from the side of my bowl. This is my creamed together sugar and butter. So again, scrape down, okay? And we're just going to give this another couple of minutes to finish off and get it nice and light and aerated. Okay, I am happy with how my sugar and my butter look together. So now I can start adding my eggs. So a little note about adding my eggs. I am making an emulsion. What is an emulsion? An emulsion essentially is sticking two things together that do not like to be stuck together. Okay, so in this case, we're looking at our eggs, our butter, and our sugar, trying to stick these together, kind of similarly to mayonnaise, okay? So the last thing we want to do is rush this process, okay? So we can take our time adding our eggs on slow speed. We add one egg, okay? Let that fall in, let that break up, okay? And you can see that immediately your mixture begins to look a little bit like kind of cottage cheese, okay? What we don't want now is to add another egg, because if we add another egg now, our mixture is going to turn into complete cottage cheese, okay? So what we do to avoid that, we turn up the speed in our mixer, and once our mixture has come back together completely, that is, it looks homogeneous, it looks as smooth and creamy as it did previously, we are ready to go with our second egg, okay? In between adding our second egg, we need to turn off our mixer. We need to take out take off our beater again. And again, we need to scrape down the side of our bowl. I get asked a lot, why do I use the paddle to scrape down the bowl? And my answer is very simple. The paddle is designed by the mixer company to fit around the side of the bowl. So I should be able to use it to scrape down the side of the bowl, and that way it's one less thing to wash at the end of the day. So, again, slow speed. Second egg goes in. Mix around until it looks like it's somewhat incorporated and your mixture is beginning to look a little cottage cheese-like. And then turn up the speed again. Until again, your mixture begins to look like it did previously, smooth and creamy and homogeneous. Turn off your mixer, take out your paddle, mix together or scrape down the sides of your bowl. Beater goes back on. Mixer goes on to slow speed. And we add our final egg. Again, once our mixture looks like it's coming back together, we turn up our speed. And then again, turn off your mixer. Scrape down the sides of your bowl. Put your paddle back on, or struggle manfully to put your womanfully or personfully to put your paddle back on. So the next stage in the process is adding my flour. Because there's milk in my recipe, I need to add my milk and my flour alternating, starting and finishing with my dry ingredients to make sure that my milk incorporates and doesn't split or doesn't curdle my mixture. Okay, so to start with, mixer on slow, take a nice heaped spoon of my flour, add to my batter, wait for that to mix in, and then add the equivalent amount of milk. Allow that mix in. More flour. And you can see I'm doing this on a slow speed on the mixer. The reason is I don't want to develop any gluten or the protein in my flour that will cause things to get chewy and a little bit gummy when my cake comes out of the oven. Okay, so I do this on a slow speed to minimize that development. Just as I said, adding equivalent amounts of your dry ingredients and your milk, alternating until basically you run out of milk. Once you've run out of milk, you can then, excuse me, I will add the milk. Once you run out of milk, you can then scrape down your bowl and add the rest of your dry ingredients in one go. Okay, so as I do that, I'm going to take out the paddle. I'm going to again use it to scrape down the side of my bowl. Get everything nice and clean. And then before I put my paddle back in and before I close down my bowl, I'm going to take the rest of my flour. And just pop that into my mixing bowl. Okay, again, close down the paddle, slow speed. And just let everything mix together until you have a nice homogeneous cake batter. So, in order to create the marbling effect in my cake, I'm going to take maybe a third of my cake batter and add that into my my cocoa powder. Okay, and then just gently fold my cocoa powder into my cake batter until it is all nice and homogeneous. And once we have a cake batter with no outstanding amounts of cocoa powder and no kind of obvious dry parts, I can then take the rest of my batter add that into my bowl like so. And then just gently, maybe once or twice, fold everything together to create that marble. Okay, this guy then is going to go into the cake tin that I prepared earlier. Okay, and as I said, it's not super important that that the paper fits ideally or perfectly into your loaf tin instantly, because we'll be coming back, and as you add your batter to your cake tin, your paper will naturally fall and stick into your tin. So at this point, we have our nicely filled cake tin with our gradual marbling effect. And of course, always make sure all of the batter is going into the tin. Otherwise, why did we make so much batter? And just as a quick finish, I'm going to take some chocolate chips, and I'm just going to sprinkle them on the top of the batter before they go into the oven, before my cake goes into the oven, as a nice kind of way to finish off my cake. Okay, as I said earlier, any excess paper, we can then just take a scissors and cut off the excess paper. And that guy is now ready to go in to the oven. 350 degrees or 170 Fahrenheit is the temperature my cake is going to go into the oven, and it's going to go in there for about 30 minutes. So the easiest way to check a cake is baked is visually. Okay, your cake is nice and golden brown, as we can see here. The other way, we press gently on the top of our cake and your cake springs back lightly. And the third way is you take a common or garden toothpick, press the toothpick into the center of your cake, take the toothpick back out. If the toothpick comes out clean, your cake is baked. The third way to check is to have a look at a thermometer. Stick the thermometer in where you would stick in your toothpick, and if it reads 190 to 210, your cake is baked. Thanks for watching the video, folks. If you like what you saw, please give me a like and a subscribe, share the video with your friends, and remember to check back often because I'll be posting videos regularly on my site. In the meantime, happy baking!